you have a brooding, cold, very powerful man, very wealthy. You also have a woman who has a very secret relationship with this very powerful man. And no one truly knows to the extent of what their relationship is. This woman also happens to be mute. Now, if you think I'm talking about When the Phone Rings, I'm actually not. I'm actually talking about a Chinese drama that has come out recently by the name of The Silent Wife. And I was told that this would be a great show to watch as I wait for When the Phone Rings to return, which obviously has taken the entire K-drama world by storm. So I said I was going to give this show a shot. And wow, there is a lot going on in this show. I don't know what I was watching, but it was definitely something. It was definitely something. And I need to talk about it. Hi, I'm Monique. I am the host of Off by Purple Heart podcast, where I talk to you about K-dramas, C-dramas, BTS, and so much more. The Silent Wife is a Chinese drama that I've watched. It is very low level to get into it. As far as I know, there's about maybe 14 episodes that are going to be coming out. I can tell you that there's at least a good 13 that have subs for it. Don't ask me where to find it. Go online. It's one of those kind of sites. I can't give you official for this show. Also, this was compared heavily to When the Phone Rings. And I can see why, because the basic premise is pretty much similar to When the Phone Rings. And this is a trope that's used in a lot of dramas. Anyways, we have the cold, very detached CEO, very brusque, very blunt man who is a red flag. We have the female lead, Mrs. Song. I'm just going to refer to her as the female lead. And she is mute and she only communicates via sign language. And their relationship, their status of the relationship is kept secret to everyone. And it's a very, very torrid, very turbulent relationship. I have watched the first 4 episodes. I'm probably going to go into some minor spoilers, but just to set everything up because I need to make sense of the craziness I just watched. So in the first episode is revealed to us that the main lead, the male lead, had an accident 3 years prior to the events that were been shown in the first ep. And because of this accident that he was in, he essentially developed amnesia. Now, because he's developed amnesia, it's pretty much to wipe traces of his memory of his relationship with his actual wife, who is the female lead. He is under the belief that the female lead, Mrs. Song, is actually his secretary and a woman that is currently in a coma who tried to save his life. As this accident was occurring, he believes to be his first love. Yeah. So it's already a mess. As you can see, it's already a mess. So we see essentially through episodes 1 through 4 that the relationship between the female lead and the male lead is very, very tense. He essentially bullies her for the first 4 eps, and he definitely bullies her in the first ep. So I was kind of questioning why people were into this so much, but it is very juicy. It's like a soap opera Chinese drama, high on the melodrama, and it is very problematic. So there's a lot of shady stuff that's going on between the two of them. He bullies her quite relentlessly, and he actually forces her to give blood transfusions to this woman that's laid up in a hospital that's currently in a coma because he believes with his whole heart that this woman is his first love and believes that the female lead is only his secretary. But he's very, very, very strangely enough possessive of her despite his animosity towards her. And he feels that it's this woman's due diligence to do whatever humanly possible to ensure that this woman gets blood transfusions. Sure. He bullies her relentlessly. He is a red flag of all red flags. Now, the male lead in When the Phone Rings is problematic as well. He's not perfect. I can call out quite a few of the shady stuff that he does, but at the very least, the relationship does not come off as toxic as it does in this show. Let me tell you, the craziest thing I saw was getting into episode 4. Mind you, these are very short episodes. They are maybe 12 minutes to 14 minutes at most. So it jam-packs a lot. In episode 4, she is forced to go to this soiree/dinner because the male lead needs to attract a new client, a new partnership. He says, you better be on your best behavior. I don't want no nonsense out of you. And they have this whole iconic walking up the staircase, decked out as a couple. Mind you, no one knows that she's his wife. He is keeping that a secret. He's telling everyone that she's the damn secretary. They're waltzing up, and it's very reminiscent of the scene in When the Phone Rings. And he's in this dining hall with her, and there's all these leeches and really creepy men that he's doing business with, and they're aggressively hitting on her, touching her inappropriately and things like that. And he's just sitting back, grimacing, clenching his fist in anger and all sorts of nonsense. And at one point, she's forced to give a toast. She communicates via sign language that she's mute and she doesn't feel comfortable drinking. For some reason, everybody in the dining hall laughs because apparently making fun of someone's disability is hilarious to these weirdos. Anyway, and they get her drunk, and then they ask her to dance provocatively on top of the dance table to essentially amuse all the male clients in the room. And the male lead is watching all this, as a by the way, right? He's getting more and more upset, but he's still sitting his ass down, not doing anything. Anyway, and the 11th hour, a second male lead enters the scene, and they had this chance encounter in the hotel. He was run over by like one of the bellhops and the little coat racks there. She saves him at the last minute, and they exchange like some thank yous and what have you. And he stares at her like she's literally the sun. And she says, goodbye, best of luck to you. Turns off, and he's like trapped in a daze. And she happens to leave back her ID. So we get explained through the show, oh my God, it's you, Mrs. Song. Do you remember me? When we met in that hotel? Whatever. And he notices all this shenanigans and trying to get her on the table. He of course, be's a gentleman, takes her off the table. Male lead's watching this. And then they kind of have like a pissing match between the two of them to exert dominance, because obviously the second male lead has interest in Mrs. Song. The male lead doesn't like that. He's super possessive, even though he continues to treat her badly in the show. And then she excuses herself from the party. Or I should say the male lead essentially throws her out the party saying, you're drunk, get out of here. So the next sequence of events is so crazy. So crazy. And then she's recovering from the fact that she's drunk. She's upset about how everything has turned out in this frigging dinner. She's in the washroom. She's splashing some cold water on her face, trying to collect herself. Doesn't the male lead come back into the washroom now? Into the women's washroom, and basically like shoves her up on the sink and basically forces kisses on her. He's like, you're mine! How dare you flirt with this new man, and you're being flirtatious with these other men, and why are you always surprising me like this? Don't you know who you are? You belong to me. And he's being all possessive and weird and bullying and And she's like, get the hell out of my face. Who the hell do you think you are? She's signing all this. I'm paraphrasing. And she's like, get away from me. So he's like, get your ass back downstairs, get in the car, go home, and I'll deal with you after. So she's like, fine, to hell with this. I didn't even want to come here in the first place. So then he stalks off back to the damn dinner. Crazy. And then she wanders off. And then one of the creepy men from the same dinner party meets her up in a hotel lobby, because this is all taking place in like this really grand 5-star hotel, right? He's like, hey, I hope you didn't get too offended by how we were acting in there. I know our behavior wasn't appropriate. It's just shop talk between the boys. Don't take too offensive it. You kind of remind me of my daughter. Red flag. Red flag. And she's like, no, it's okay. It's okay. He's like, hey, I have some, pills for you here that you can take, and they're kind of to help with hangovers. Would you like one? So she's inebriated. She thinks that there's no threat to this man because he's an older gentleman, and he tried to get her guard down by saying, I have a daughter just around your age. So he gives her this pill. She takes it. Of course, she's drugged even more so. I know, this show, I know. So she ends up getting really, really loopy, not feeling well, and then he has that really weird, lecherous smile on his face, and the music gets that ominous tone, and you already know, okay, here's trouble. And then she ends up in a hotel room, has no control of her body. I know, it's bad. He's rubbing his hands together like an evil mustache twirling villain. He goes back down to where everyone's still having dinner. The male lead is still there, scowling like a loser. And he kind of tells one of the guys there that essentially the man that the male lead wants to have business with, the main man in power. Hey, he like whispers to him, I got this chick upstairs. I think the male lead is setting this up so that we can, have some fun with her. Gross, right? Yeah. So they excuse themselves, and the male lead antenna kind of goes up. He's like, no, something's not quite right here. But they end up concluding the dinner. He goes to his car to get home, and the driver and his assistant essentially says, Mrs. Song didn't end up coming back down here. He's like, what do you mean? I told her to go home. And the driver's like, and his assistant was basically like, well, I don't know. She ain't here. So you can imagine. He rushes back up through the elevator. She's fighting for her life because she's finally woken up and sees what's going down. And this same lecherous man that the male lead was putting all this pressure on her to impress because he needs to sign and close this deal. And he is trying to assault her. He's trying to assault her. She luckily is able to bash him over the head with one of the light fixtures in the hotel. And she's crawling on her knees trying to escape. And of course, in the last 5 minutes of this entire weird exchange, the male lead comes to her rescue, punches this man out, and then he kind of bridal carries her out the hotel. So all of this happened in these 12-minute episodes in episode 4. They end up back in the car, and he's trying to be all cool and aloof. And then she's like, how dare you offer me up to these men? What is the matter with you? Do I mean nothing to you? Are you gonna really treat me like this? And then they start having an argument, and I was like, I hope she backhands him 3 times and then gives him like an elbow right in his nose. And they're arguing, and it's impassioned, and then bam, they start making out. And that's when I had to stop the episode, and I had to put on the camera and link up my microphone, and I had to do a podcast about this because this is crazy work. Everything I just described was just the first 4 episodes. I don't know. I am not a fan of watching women getting bullied, to be honest. Like, I understand we all like the very serious, very mysterious, brooding, male lead in certain scenarios. Like, I'm really enjoying the interactions and when the phone rings. But this show, it's different. Definitely trigger warning for episode 4, for sure. But the show is a very crazy wild ride. It is a soap opera. It is a trashy soap opera. But if you're that desperate for something to kind of soothe the bridge of you waiting for the next episodes of When the Phone Rings, maybe check this out if you can find it. I tried to give you as much information as I can for you to get in. The reason why I'm sticking around is because the show is so damn crazy. Like, I have to see how it ends because I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm watching, but this is next level. This is crazy. So I need to see it. I also see from some people talking about the show that the female lead, Mrs. Song, will get her revenge on the male lead, and he will conveniently have his memories come back. So I just need to see how this crazy show continues, and I need to see her get her revenge, because he doing too damn much. You understand? He doing too damn much. So that is my weird recap / review of The Silent Wife. This is a crazy Chinese drama, trashy soap opera version of an already soap opera-ish K-drama, When the Phone Rings. Tropey as all hell, but it might scratch that itch if you just deal with the male lead just essentially bullying the female lead for the majority of the episodes that I've watched so far. If you're watching the video form of this podcast via YouTube, please let me know your thoughts below. Have you heard of this crazy ass show? Let me know your thoughts. Genuinely, I want to know. If you're listening via Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I appreciate you so much. Feel free to interact with those platforms as well. Hey, y'all may really love this show. You might think this is exactly what I need to soothe the itch that When the Phone Rings has left me, because I know I am dying for the next episodes. Everybody else that's into the show is crazy about it. But this show, yeah, it is different. Whew, till the next one. Bye.